The dank cell reeked of rust and regret. Lieutenant Axel Morgan of the Galactic Security Force shifted his weight against the cold stone wall, eyes fixed on the prisoner across from him. Moonlight from the barred window cast silver streaks across her feral features, the distinctive ridged brow and amber eyes of the Lunar Eye Clan. Her name was Kira, and according to his superiors, she was the most dangerous Lunari operative in 3 sectors. "You're making a mistake," she growled, pulling against the heavy shackles that bound her wrists and ankles to the wall. The chains rattled but held firm. "My people will come for me." Axel maintained his professional detachment. "Your people are busy explaining how a clan scout ended up with classified GSF encryption algorithms. Black Moon Prison is the least of your worries." Kira's lupine ears flattened against her skull. "We found that chip fair and square after your kind abandoned the outpost on Vega 4. "Abandoned?" Axel scoffed. "That outpost was attacked. 23 GSF personnel died." "Convenient story." Her lip curled, revealing sharp canines. "Your Vex allies needed a reason to expand territory. The Vex Collective is a peaceful trading partner." "The Vex are parasites." Kira lunged forward, chains straining. "They manipulate your species like puppets, and you're too blind to see it." Axel stepped closer, his patience wearing thin after the 18-hour transport flight. "I'm not here to debate conspiracy theories with a prisoner. The Dravak cartel runs this facility under GSF oversight. You'll be processed, questioned, and—" It happened so fast he barely registered the movement. Kira sprang forward with unexpected reach, her teeth sinking deep into his forearm. Pain blazed through Axel's nerves as he instinctively twisted, his own teeth finding purchase on the exposed flesh of her shoulder. They froze, locked together in mutual shock, predator and prey simultaneously. Axel tasted copper and something else, something alien yet oddly familiar. Kira's eyes widened, their amber depths flaring with surprise rather than pain. For a suspended moment, neither moved. Then, as if by silent agreement, they released each other and retreated. Axel examined the perfect half-moon of punctures on his arm, blood welling in crimson beads. Across from him, Kira touched her shoulder, similarly marked. "You bit me back," she said, her voice hushed with disbelief. "You bit me first," he replied, equally stunned by his instinctive response. Kira's expression shifted from shock to something more calculating. No human has ever. She studied him with new intensity. In Lunari culture, only equals exchange bites. Axel applied pressure to his wound. In human culture, we typically shake hands. A sound escaped her, something between a snarl and a laugh. Yet you responded in kind without hesitation. Interesting. The heavy door to the cell creaked open, interrupting their bizarre moment of connection. A Dravak guard, reptilian scales glinting in the dim light, surveyed them with vertical pupilled eyes. "Problems with the prisoner, Lieutenant?" The guard's voice rasped through needle-like teeth. "Nothing I can't handle," Axel replied, stepping back to regulation distance. The guard's gaze lingered on Axel's bleeding arm. "Warden wants to see you. Says there's been a change of plans regarding the Lunari." "What change?" Axel asked. The guard's mouth stretched into what passed for a smile among the Dravak. "Special auction tomorrow. Combat specimens fetch premium prices in the fighting pits." Axel stiffened. "That's not standard protocol. The prisoner is scheduled for GSF interrogation and—" "GSF authority ends at the landing pad. Human." The guard interrupted. "Black Moon belongs to the cartel. Warden makes the rules here." He gestured toward the door. "You're requested, now." Axel glanced back at Kira, whose face had gone rigid with practiced neutrality. But her eyes, those amber, lupine eyes, flashed with undisguised fear. "I'll return shortly," Axel told her, professional but pointed. The moment the cell door closed behind him, he heard the telltale click of unauthorized communication from the guard's wrist device. "Got both of them secured. Prepare the transport for the pits." Both of them. The words sank like stones in Axel's stomach. The Dravak had no intention of treating him as GSF personnel. He was just another commodity for their underground fighting circuit. The guard prodded him forward with a shock baton. "Move, Lieutenant. Warden doesn't like to wait." Axel walked ahead, mind racing through options. Standard GSF protocol dictated compliance until backup arrived, but the encrypted distress beacon in his boot had been confiscated during processing. No one knew he was here. Commander Hayes had assigned this prisoner transport as a solo mission. Unusual, but not unprecedented for high-security transfers. The narrow corridor opened into a processing area where 3 more Dravak guards lounged around monitoring equipment. Beyond them, a reinforced door led to the warden's office. "In there," the guard directed, shoving Axel forward. Instead of complying, Axel dropped to one knee, clutching his bitten arm. "I need medical attention," he gasped, exaggerating his distress. "The Lunari. Her bite contains neurotoxins." The guard hesitated, then leaned closer to examine the wound. The moment he was within range, Axel surged upward, smashing his forehead into the guard's sensitive nasal scales. As the Dravak staggered back, Axel seized the shock baton and activated it in one fluid motion. The other guards reacted instantly, but Axel had positioned himself in the doorway bottleneck. The first guard rushed him with a restraint loop. Axel sidestepped and drove the baton into the creature's armpit, where the scales were thinnest. The guard collapsed in convulsions. Alarms shrieked to life as Axel engaged the remaining 2. One managed to graze his shoulder with a neural disruptor before taking a baton strike to the throat. The last guard backed toward the communication console, but Axel lunged forward, delivering a precision strike to the base of the Dravak's skull. 4 guards down, but reinforcements would arrive within minutes. Axel quickly searched their bodies, retrieving a keycard, 2 pulse pistols, and a comm unit. He keyed into the cell block frequency just as the heavy footfalls of security response teams echoed down the corridor. Retreating to Kira's cell, he used the keycard to disengage the lock. She looked up, surprise evident as he entered alone, armed. "Change of plans," he said, using the keycard to release her shackles. "We're leaving." Kira rubbed her wrists, suspicion warring with hope on her features. "Why?" "The Dravak are selling us both to the fighting pits. Apparently, GSF authority isn't recognized here after all." Her ears perked forward. "So self-preservation, not principle." "Call it a convergence of interests," Axel replied, handing her one of the pulse pistols. "Can you use this?" Kira examined the weapon with practiced ease. "I qualified expert on weapons twice this size. What's the escape plan?" "Maintenance tunnels to the landing bay. Steal a ship. Break Atmo before they mobilize their fighters." She nodded, a hint of respect flickering across her features. "Simple, suicidal, I like it." Axel checked the corridor. "They'll be expecting us to head for the main exit. We go deeper first, the prison core, then up through service shafts." "Lead the way, Lieutenant." They moved swiftly through the dimly lit passageways, encountering minimal resistance until they reached the central processing hub. There, a squad of 6 Dravak security officers had established a defensive position. Axel pulled Kira back behind a support column as disruptor fire scorched the wall where they'd stood. "Too many for a frontal assault." Kira pointed upward. "Ventilation system." "Too small for me," Axel countered. "Not for me." Her amber eyes gleamed. "Lunari are more flexible. Give me covering fire and 3 minutes." Before he could argue, she was scaling the wall using minute imperfections in the stone as handholds, her lithe body demonstrating evolutionary adaptations far beyond human capability. She disappeared into a narrow vent near the ceiling. Axel provided the requested distraction, firing controlled bursts that forced the Dravak to keep their heads down. 2 minutes and 40 seconds later, chaos erupted behind the security position as Kira emerged, moving with predatory grace. She incapacitated 2 guards before they registered her presence, giving Axel the opening to advance and neutralize the remaining 4. They regrouped at the hub's central console, where Axel accessed the facility schematics. Maintenance access is 2 levels down, but the lifts will be locked down during alert status. Kira pointed to a waste disposal chute. Garbage route it is. Axel grimaced. You're enjoying this. Escaping certain death? Absolutely. Her ears twitched toward distant sounds. More guards coming. Decision time, Lieutenant. The waste chute was predictably foul, but deposited them only 1 level from their destination. They navigated service corridors designed for maintenance droids, avoiding the main thoroughfares where security would be concentrated. Why were you really bringing me here? Kira asked as they paused at a junction, checking for patrols. Orders, Axel replied automatically. From whom? The GSF doesn't typically send lieutenants solo for high-value prisoner transports. Axel hesitated. She was right. The irregularities in his assignment had bothered him from the start. Commander Hayes gave me direct orders, said the sensitivity of the intel you carried required minimal exposure. And it didn't strike you as strange that I was being delivered to a cartel-run facility rather than a GSF black site? The question hung between them, uncomfortably pointed. We can discuss conspiracy theories after we're off this rock, Axel finally said, checking his stolen comm unit. Landing bay is showing minimal activity. They must have concentrated forces at the exits. Or it's a trap, Kira suggested. Always a possibility. He met her gaze. Trust has to start somewhere. Her expression softened slightly. The bite usually goes first, then trust. You've already got the sequence wrong. Despite everything, Axel found himself smiling. Human traditions differ. They encountered 2 more patrols en route to the landing bay, dispatching them with synchronized efficiency that surprised both of them. Without discussion, they'd fallen into complementary combat roles, Axel providing distraction and range support while Kira used her superior speed and agility for close-quarters neutralization. The landing bay doors were indeed lightly guarded, suspiciously so. Axel surveyed the area through a maintenance grate. 3 supply ships sat on the pad, minimally secured. Too easy, Kira whispered, echoing his thoughts. They're not expecting us here yet, Axel reasoned. Security protocols would prioritize preventing exit from the facility. Once they realize we've penetrated this far, they'll lock it down completely. Kira's ears swiveled, tracking sounds beyond human hearing range. We have perhaps 5 minutes before the next security sweep. Axel studied the nearest ship, a standard Meridian-class cargo runner, old but reliable, with basic defensive capabilities. Can you fly that? I can fly anything, she replied with quiet confidence. But the startup sequence will alert their systems. Then we don't start up until we're ready to launch. Axel keyed the stolen comm unit to the ship's frequency. Meridian vessel. Authorization Protocol 73 Delta 6. The ship's external lights flickered once in acknowledgement. GSF override codes? Kira looked impressed despite herself. Emergency protocols. Every commercial vessel is required to recognize them. He didn't mention that using the codes would trigger an automatic alert to the nearest GSF outpost, a small insurance policy. They timed their approach during a guard rotation, sprinting across the exposed landing pad to the Meridian's access ramp. Axel used the override to open the hatch, and they slipped inside just as alarms began blaring across the facility. They found the bodies, Kira noted, heading straight for the cockpit. Time's up. The ship's systems responded sluggishly to the emergency startup sequence, but the engines rumbled to life. External floodlights bathed the landing bay as security doors began closing. Hold on, Kira warned, her hands dancing across the controls with surprising familiarity. The ship lurched forward, accelerating toward the narrowing exit. We're not going to make it, Axel observed, strapping into the co-pilot's seat. Kira's response was to divert power from life support to engines, a reckless but effective strategy. The Meridian shot forward with unexpected speed, scraping through the closing doors with centimeters to spare. Alarms screamed as atmospheric integrity was compromised, but they were out. The black void of space greeted them, the prison moon falling away beneath. For a moment, Axel allowed himself to breathe, until the tactical display lit up with multiple signatures. Pursuit craft, Kira announced unnecessarily. 7 of them, on intercept trajectory. Axel activated the weapon systems. Standard Meridian loadout, point defense turrets, minimal shielding. Not designed for combat. Kira agreed, executing a series of evasive maneuvers that belied the ship's ungainly appearance. But we have one advantage. What's that? Her amber eyes gleamed. They want us alive for their fighting pits. They'll try to disable, not destroy. Axel considered this. Whereas we have no such constraints. Precisely. She banked the ship hard, bringing them around to face the nearest pursuer. Weapons hot. Locked and charged. Axel targeted the lead ship's propulsion system. Fire on your mark. The ensuing dogfight demonstrated why the Lunar Eye clan had a reputation for producing the finest pilots in the quadrant. Kira flew the lumbering cargo vessel like it was an extension of her body, anticipating enemy movements with preternatural accuracy. Axel matched her intensity, his targeting precision making each limited ammunition count. They disabled 2 pursuers in the initial exchange, but the remaining 5 adjusted tactics, spreading out to limit Kira's evasion options. The Meridian shuddered as suppression fire impacted their weakening shields. We need distance, Axel noted, watching the shield integrity dropping rapidly. Any ideas? Kira nodded toward the nav display, where a dense asteroid field loomed ahead. How's your luck, Lieutenant? Better than my judgment, apparently, he replied, securing his harness tighter. The field it is. They plunged into the chaotic tumble of rock and ice, the pursuing ships hesitating only momentarily before following. Inside the field, the larger chunks of space debris provided cover while the countless smaller fragments created a natural minefield that punished any lapse in attention. 2 more enemy ships fell victim to the hazardous environment, their pilots lacking either the skill or the desperation driving Kira's reckless navigation. But the remaining 3 adapted quickly, using the asteroids for cover while maintaining pursuit. We can't outrun them forever, Axel warned as another barrage of disruptor fire glanced off their failing shields. And we can't outshoot them with what we have left. Kira's expression hardened with determination. Then we outthink them. She pointed to a cluster of massive asteroids ahead, their orbits creating a constantly shifting maze of gravitational eddies. Take the helm. What are you planning? Axel asked, sliding into her seat as she moved to the engineering station. Something incredibly stupid, she replied, fingers flying across the interface. When I give the word, take us straight into that convergence point and cut engines on my mark. The idea was either brilliant or suicidal, possibly both. The asteroids ahead were approaching a momentary alignment where their orbits would create a narrow corridor before colliding. Timing would be critical. But if executed perfectly, they could slip through while their pursuers would be caught in the impact zone. Ready when you are, Axel confirmed, hands steady on the controls despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. Kira completed her modifications to the ship's power distribution, diverting all remaining shield energy to engines on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark! The Meridian surged forward with a burst of speed that pressed them back into their seats. Axel aimed for the ephemeral gap between the massive rocks, trusting Kira's calculations and his own instincts. Behind them, the pursuing ships accelerated to match, unwilling to lose their quarry. Cut engines! Now! Kira shouted as they threaded the needle between the asteroids. Axel killed the power. The sudden silence was disorienting as momentum carried them through the gap. Through the viewports, they watched the massive space rocks scrape past with terrifying proximity before colliding behind them with cataclysmic force. Their pursuers weren't as fortunate. 2 ships were caught directly in the crushing convergence, while the third was sent spinning away by the shockwave. Critical systems failing. For several heartbeats, Axel and Kira sat in stunned silence, the Meridian drifting safely beyond the collision zone. That, Axel finally said, was incredibly stupid. Kira's tense expression broke into a genuine smile, the first he'd seen from her. But effective. Axel restarted the engines, setting a course away from the prison moon. Now what? I'm technically aiding the escape of a GSF prisoner. And I'm cooperating with a human. Kira's smile faded as she examined the bite mark on her shoulder, still raw and red. We've both crossed lines today. The reality of their situation settled between them. Whatever happened next, there was no going back to their previous lives. The encryption chip, Axel said finally. What did you really find on it? Kira studied him, seemingly weighing her response. Proof that the Vex have infiltrated your GSF at the highest levels. They're manipulating both our species toward conflict, creating opportunities to expand their influence while we're distracted fighting each other. That's a significant accusation without evidence. The evidence was on that chip, she countered. My clan's best cryptographers decoded transmissions between Commander Hayes and Vex operatives, detailing false flag operations against both humans and Lunari. Axel felt cold dread settling in his stomach. Hayes had personally assigned him this mission, insisted on him specifically. Including the Vega 4 outpost attack? Kira nodded solemnly. The attack attributed to Lunari forces was actually carried out by Vex proxies, just as they've staged attacks on our settlements and blamed human expansionists. The pieces were falling into place with sickening clarity. And by delivering you to a Drawback facility, Hayes was eliminating both the evidence and the witnesses. Kira confirmed. The Drawback cartel and Vex Collective have been partners for decades. The fighting pits are just their most public venture. Axel activated the ship's diagnostic systems, searching for tracking devices. We need to assume Hayes knows we've escaped and is already taking countermeasures. Where can we go that's safe from both GSF and Lunari authorities? Vega Station, Kira suggested. It's technically neutral territory, administered by an independent merchant consortium. We can make contact with my clan's operatives there without immediately triggering GSF alerts. What about the encryption chip? Do you still have it? Kira's expression turned wry. Your guards were very thorough during my capture, but not anatomically informed about Lunari physiology. She parted the fur at the base of her neck, revealing a small, self-healing incision. Subdermal cavity, standard procedure for high-value intelligence. Despite everything, Axel was impressed. That's resourceful. Survival adaptation, she corrected. Your species isn't the only one with evolutionary advantages. As they plotted the jump to Vega Station, Axel noticed Kira favoring her left side. During their escape, adrenaline had masked the injuries, but now the cost of their flight was becoming apparent. You're hurt, he observed. Just a disruptor graze, nothing serious. She dismissed his concern with a flick of her ears. Axel retrieved the ship's medical kit. Serious enough to need treatment, the Meridian will hold course for now. To his surprise, she didn't object when he knelt beside her chair, applying antiseptic to the angry burn that ran along her ribs. Her fur was softer than it appeared, the skin beneath warm to the touch. Your arm needs attention as well, she noted, eyeing the bite mark she'd left. Fair exchange. He offered her the antiseptic and a clean bandage. As she treated his wound with unexpected gentleness, Axel found himself studying her features more closely. The fierce, animalistic quality that had initially defined her in his mind was still present, but now seemed just one facet of a more complex being. Her hands, paw-like but dexterous, moved with precision. Her eyes, when not narrowed in anger, held intelligence and depth. What? She asked, noticing his scrutiny. I'm reassessing my preconceptions, he admitted. About Lunari? About a lot of things. He flexed his bandaged arm. If Hayes is compromised, how deep does the corruption go? How much of what I've been fighting for is based on manipulation? Kira secured the bandage with a practiced touch. That's the problem with believing you're on the right side. It makes you vulnerable to those who would use your conviction against you. Speaks the terrorist, Axel said, but without malice. Freedom fighter, she corrected with the ghost of a smile. Perspective matters. The ship's communication system chimed unexpectedly, interrupting their moment of connection. A secure channel had been activated remotely, the GSF emergency protocol Axel had triggered with his override codes. "Lieutenant Morgan, do you copy?" A familiar voice crackled through the speakers. Elise Shaw, his academy classmate now stationed at Proxima Command. Axel hesitated, looking to Kira, who nodded cautiously. "This is Morgan," he responded. "Situation critical. Unsecured channel." "Understood," Elise replied. "Your emergency beacon triggered. Status report?" "Prisoner transport compromised. Hostile takeover of Black Moon facility by Dravac forces. Currently secure but pursued." He kept the details vague, uncertain how much to reveal. "Coordinates received. GSF response team. Dispatching from Proxima. ETA, 6 hours." There was a pause. "Axel, there's chatter about your mission. Hayes is claiming you've gone rogue, absconded with a high-value prisoner. What's happening?" Kira tensed beside him, hand drifting toward her weapon. "Communications compromised at highest levels," Axel replied carefully. "Evidence of Vex infiltration. Trust no one until we reach Vega Station." Static hissed as Elise processed this. "Understood. I'll redirect the official response but flag a trusted team to meet you covertly at Vega. Authentication protocol, Theta 9, when you arrive." Another pause. "Watch your back. Axel, Shaw out." The communication ended, leaving them in tense silence. "Can she be trusted?" Kira asked. "I think so. Elise has no connection to Hayes. She was sidelined to Proxima after questioning operations in the Cygnus sector, another area with heavy Vex influence. Axel checked their course. But we maintain caution. Trust is earned." Kira nodded, then winced as the movement aggravated her injuries. "We should rest. Vega Station is 16 hours at current speed, and we'll need our strength." The Meridian's crew quarters were minimal, 4 narrow bunks in a shared cabin. They selected beds on opposite sides of the small space, maintaining professional distance despite the strange intimacy that had developed between them. Axel lay awake, watching the play of starlight across the ceiling as the ship hummed steadily around them. Across the room, Kira's breathing had slowed to the rhythmic pattern of sleep. In repose, with her guard lowered, she looked younger, more vulnerable than the fierce warrior who had fought beside him. The bite on his arm throbbed dully, a physical reminder of how quickly everything had changed. 24 hours ago, he would have considered her an enemy without question. Now, they were fugitives together, united by a conspiracy neither had fully comprehended until it threatened to consume them both. If Kira was right about Hayes and the Vex infiltration, then the conflict between humans and Lunari had been manufactured. Countless lives lost to serve hidden agendas. The thought made his stomach churn with anger and betrayal. Sleep claimed him eventually. Troubled and light, he dreamed of asteroids converging and Hayes' face morphing into something alien and terrible. Through it all, amber eyes watched him, both predatory and protective. He woke to the ship's proximity alert and Kira already in the cockpit, running pre-approach diagnostics. Vega Station loomed ahead, a sprawling structure of interconnected modules orbiting the gas giant Vega Prime. Its neutral status made it a haven for traders, mercenaries, and those seeking to operate in the shadows between major powers. "Sleep well?" Kira asked without turning. "Well enough." Axel took the co-pilot's seat. "Any sign of pursuit?" "Nothing on long-range scanners, but that doesn't mean they're not waiting at the station." She adjusted their approach vector. "We need a plan for after we dock." Axel considered their options. Elise mentioned a contact with authentication protocol Theta 9. "We meet them first, assess their trustworthiness, then proceed to your clan operatives. Assuming they haven't already been compromised, we'll know soon enough." He activated the communication system. "Vega Station Control, this is Meridian cargo vessel requesting docking clearance." The response was immediate and automated. "Meridian vessel, transmit registration and manifest." Axel sent the ship's standard identification packet, modified to obscure their point of origin. Requesting expedited processing. Medical supplies on board with limited stasis duration. It was a common smuggler's trick, claiming perishable medical cargo usually resulted in faster clearance and less scrutiny. After a brief pause, the docking computer assigned them to Bay 47, a mid-level berth in the commercial sector. As they navigated the final approach, Kira spoke without looking away from the controls. "Whatever happens when we dock, Lieutenant Axel, I want you to know I misjudged you." The use of his first name caught him off guard. "Likewise, Kira." She finally turned to face him, amber eyes intense. "The bite between equals in my culture. It's more than just a symbol of respect, it's a bond, a recognition that your fate and mine are intertwined." "Is that why you bit me, to create this bond?" "No." Her ears flattened slightly in embarrassment. "I bit you because I was angry and afraid. The bond came after, when you bit back without hesitation, as an equal." The docking clamps engaged before Axel could respond, securing the meridian to the station. They powered down non-essential systems and prepared to disembark, weapons concealed but accessible. Vega Station's commercial sector pulsed with the controlled chaos of a major trading hub. Beings from dozens of species moved purposefully among stalls and shopfronts, conducting the business that kept the station neutral and profitable. Security drones hovered discreetly, their presence both reassurance and warning. Axel and Kira moved with the flow of foot traffic, heads down, avoiding direct eye contact with the station's security personnel. They had agreed to split up briefly, Kira to make contact with her clan's operative while Axel sought out Elise's trusted team. The stellar compass in 1 hour, Axel confirmed as they prepared to separate. "If either of us doesn't show, assume compromise and proceed to backup rendezvous." Kira nodded, then surprised him by gripping his forearm in the traditional Lunari gesture of solidarity. "Hunt well, Lieutenant." "You too." He returned the grip, feeling the strength in her slender arm. The authentication point for protocol. Theta 9 was a small data broker shop in the station's information district. Axel entered casually, browsing display terminals while scanning for surveillance. The proprietor, a cybernetically enhanced human, acknowledged him with a barely perceptible nod. "Looking for historical star charts," Axel said, using the agreed-upon phrase, "pre-expansion era." "Specialty item," the proprietor replied. "You'll want to consult with our expert. Through there." He indicated a door to a back room. Axel followed, hand near his concealed weapon. The room beyond was small but equipped with advanced counter-surveillance technology. A woman sat at a compact workstation, Dr. Eleanor Reed, xenobiologist and GSF Science Division head. Her presence was unexpected but reassuring. Reed had been vocal about peaceful cooperation with non-human species. "Lieutenant Morgan," she greeted him, "your situation is more complicated than you realize." "Evidently," he replied cautiously. "Authentication Theta 9. Reed gestured to a display showing security footage of Commander Hayes arriving at the station 3 hours earlier, accompanied by a contingent of GSF security officers. "Hayes arrived ahead of you. He's claiming you've been compromised by Lunari mind control techniques. A convenient explanation for why you might accuse him of treason." Axel felt his stomach sink. "Who authorized his deployment?" "Admiral Chen." Reed's expression was grim. "Half the fleet is preparing for containment operations against Lunari settlements, citing intelligence about an imminent attack." "It's happening," Axel realized. The Vex are pushing both sides toward open conflict, using Hayes and probably others as their proxies. Reed nodded. "I've suspected Vex manipulation for years, but without proof, my concerns were dismissed as xenophilic bias." She studied him. "Elise says you have evidence." "My companion does. We need secure transport to Proxima Station and a direct line to Admiral Kessler. He's untainted as far as we know." "Companion?" Reed looked puzzled. "The Lunari prisoner." Before Axel could explain, his secure communicator vibrated, Kira's emergency signal. Something had gone wrong. "I need to go," he said urgently. "Kira's in trouble." Reed hesitated only briefly before handing him a small device. "Quantum entanglement communicator, untraceable. When you're secure, Activate it, and I'll arrange the transport to Proxima. Thank you, Dr. Reed. Don't thank me yet, Lieutenant. If Hayes captures you, we're all finished. Axel moved swiftly through the crowded corridors, heading toward the Stellar Compass, the upscale establishment where he was supposed to meet Kira. He arrived to find the entrance cordoned off by station security. A crowd of onlookers gathered at a respectful distance. What happened? He asked a nearby Andorian merchant. GSF officers attempted to apprehend a Lunari, the merchant replied, antennae twitching excitedly. She escaped through the kitchen, injured two of them quite severely. Axel moved on before his relief became noticeable. Kira had evaded capture, but now Hayes would know both of them were on the station. They needed to leave immediately. He made his way to their backup rendezvous, a maintenance access junction in the station's lower levels. The area was deserted, used primarily by service droids. Axel waited in the shadows, counting minutes and planning contingencies. 20 minutes later, a ventilation grate slid aside, and Kira dropped silently to the floor. Her clothing was torn, and fresh blood matted the fur on her arm. But her eyes were alert and focused. Hayes was waiting with my contact, she explained tersely. The clan operative was already dead when I arrived. Hayes is claiming I'm under Lunari mind control, Axel told her. He's here with a security team, and half the fleet is preparing for operations against Lunari settlements. Kira's expression hardened. Then we're out of time. We need to get this evidence to someone who can act on it before the fighting starts. Dr. Reed is arranging transport to Proxima Station. Admiral Kessler, there may be our best hope. Can we trust this Dr. Reed? She's been advocating for human-Lunari cooperation for years. The Vex would consider her an obstacle, not an asset. Kira nodded, accepting his assessment. The question is how to reach her without walking into Hayes' security net. Axel considered their options. The maintenance tunnels connect to all sectors. If we can reach the private docking bays, Reed can bring a ship directly to us. Lead the way, Lieutenant. They navigated the station's service corridors, avoiding the main thoroughfares where Hayes' teams would be concentrated. Twice they were forced to hide as security patrols passed, their progress frustratingly slow. Something's not right, Kira said as they approached the private docking section. It's too quiet. Axel agreed. The absence of security in such a critical area suggested either negligence or strategy. And Hayes was not known for negligence. Could be a trap, he acknowledged. Almost certainly is, Kira replied. But we're running out of alternatives. They proceeded with heightened caution. Sensors alert for security measures. The docking bay designated in Reed's instructions appeared deserted. A sleek diplomatic shuttle waiting with boarding ramp extended. Too easy, Axel murmured. As if in response, the bay doors sealed shut behind them with a definitive thunk. Floodlights activated, temporarily blinding them as armed figures emerged from concealed positions. Lieutenant Morgan, Commander Hayes' voice echoed through the bay. And the Lunari terrorist. How convenient. Axel and Kira stood back to back, surrounded by GSF security officers with weapons trained on them. Hayes approached confidently, accompanied by a tall, unnaturally thin humanoid whose features seemed to shift subtly even as they watched. A Vex. I'm disappointed. Axel. Hayes continued. You had such promise, but allowing yourself to be manipulated by Lunari mind techniques. He shook his head in mock sadness. There are no mind techniques, Axel replied calmly. Only evidence that you've betrayed the GSF to the Vex Collective. Hayes smiled thinly. A desperate accusation from a compromised officer. No one will believe you, especially after you and your Lunari accomplice are killed attempting to steal a diplomatic vessel. The Vex spoke, its voice like liquid silver. Regrettable but necessary. The humans and Lunari must remain. Appropriately adversarial for optimal market conditions. You've been playing both sides, Kira growled, creating conflict to profit from it. Creating opportunity, the Vex corrected. Your species are so predictable in your tribalism. A few strategic incidents, properly attributed, and you happily destroy each other while we expand our influence. Hayes gestured to his security team. Enough talk. Take them. As the officers advanced, the shuttle's engines suddenly roared to life. The boarding ramp retracted with a mechanical whine, and the vessel's defensive systems activated, weapon ports opening in silent threat. A familiar voice came over the bay's communication system. Commander Hayes, this is Dr. Eleanor Reed. I've taken the liberty of recording this entire conversation. It's being transmitted to Admiral Kessler at Proxima Station as we speak. Hayes's expression contorted with rage. Reed, shut down that transmission immediately. I'm afraid I can't do that, Commander. The evidence of your collusion with the Vex Collective is quite damning. Reed's voice remained professional, despite the tension. Lieutenant Morgan, Kira, the shuttle's automated systems are under my control. On my mark. Move directly toward it. The security fields will admit only you. Axel met Kira's eyes and nodded once. They tensed. Ready. Mark, Reed commanded. They lunged toward the shuttle as Hayes shouted for his men to fire. Disruptor blasts dissipated harmlessly against the security field that sprang up around them. The shuttle's boarding ramp extended just long enough for them to scramble aboard before retracting and sealing. Through the viewports, they watched Hayes and the Vex representative gesticulating furiously as the shuttle's systems initiated emergency departure protocols. The bay doors opened to the void of space, and the vessel shot forward into freedom. In the cockpit, Reed's holographic image greeted them. I'm controlling this shuttle remotely from a secure location. We're on course for Proxima Station, where Admiral Kessler is preparing to receive your evidence. What about Hayes? Axel asked. Security forces loyal to Kessler are moving to detain him and his Vex associate. The recording of their conversation has already been transmitted to both GSF High Command and the Lunari Council. Kira removed the encryption chip from its hiding place beneath her skin. This contains the complete evidence, communications, financial transfers, operational plans for false flag attacks. Everything needed to expose the full extent of the conspiracy. Reed's hologram nodded. We'll analyze it thoroughly once you arrive. For now, the shuttle is secure, and medical supplies are available in the rear compartment. I suggest you both treat your injuries during transit. Estimated arrival at Proxima is 7 hours. As the hologram faded, Axel and Kira found themselves truly alone for the first time since their escape. The adrenaline of immediate danger fading, they became acutely aware of their wounds, fatigue, and the strange intimacy that had developed between them. We did it, Axel said, the reality slowly sinking in. Part of it, Kira corrected. Exposing the conspiracy is just the beginning. Undoing decades of manufactured hatred between our species will be much harder. They treated their injuries in companionable silence, movements becoming more relaxed as the distance from danger increased. The shuttle's automated systems maintained course while they rested, sharing a meal from the vessel's provisions. What happens when we reach Proxima? Kira eventually asked, her voice quiet in the humming solitude of space. Admiral Kessler will want detailed statements. The evidence will be presented to joint human Lunari authorities. Axel considered the broader implications. There will be resistance from those who benefit from the conflict, but with Hayes exposed, others will take his place. Kira said, the Vex are patient and have agents throughout both our governments. Then we remain vigilant. Axel met her amber gaze. Together? The question hung between them, weighted with meaning beyond their immediate crisis. Kira touched the healing bite mark on her shoulder, then reached across to touch his matching wound. The bond is already formed, she said simply. In Lunari tradition, those who exchange bites as equals are connected beyond circumstance or convenience. Their paths are joined. And if I accept this tradition, Axel asked, his hand covering hers. Then we face what comes next as a united force, neither human nor Lunari alone, but something new, something stronger. His answer was to lean forward, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that transcended species and politics, a promise more binding than any formal alliance. 6 months later, they stood together on the observation deck of New Harmony, the first joint human-Lunari settlement established since the Vex conspiracy was exposed. Below them, Colonists from both species worked side by side, rebuilding what hatred had nearly destroyed. The Council is still debating your proposal for integrated defense forces. Kira noted, her hand comfortably entwined with Axel's. Old prejudices die slowly. But they do die, he replied, watching children, human and Lunari, playing together in the colony's central plaza. Each generation carries less of the burden. As cultural liaisons, they had become symbols of the new cooperation, their unique bond both personal and political. The path hadn't been easy. Hayes had escaped custody during transfer, and Vec's interests continued to work subtly against the alliance. But the foundation had been laid for something previously unimaginable. Kira's ears perked forward as a notification chimed on their shared communication device. Admiral Kessler is requesting our presence at the upcoming summit. Apparently, there are rumors of Vec's activity in the Cygnus sector. The work continues. Axel acknowledged, turning from the view to face her. The bite mark on his arm had healed into a perfect crescent scar, a permanent reminder of how their journey together had begun. Kira smiled, touching the matching mark on her shoulder. It always will, but we face it as equals. As equals, he agreed, sealing the promise with a kiss as the twin moons of New Harmony rose on the horizon, casting their united light over the colony below.